TFIF on video with me, Ross, and the guys, Craig Wilkie, Arvind Sidhu, and Keeshaanan. We won't kid you. It's been a tough week, what with cricket, snooker, and football. Not a lot of time for sleep, has there, guys? Yeah, exactly. And there's football every single day this week. Over the weekend as well. Me and the guys are going to talk about it as usual. You can get in touch. You can follow us on social media. It's BFM Football on Instagram and on Facebook. Also, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, TFIF on video. Right, this game we're going to talk about first seems so long ago now, but it only happened Wednesday morning, our time, amazingly. Dubbed the richest football playoff in history ever. It is a championship playoff. It is to determine the 20th team to play in the EPL next season. And it finished Brentford 1, Fulham 2 after extra time. Arvind, I know you kept an eye on this one. It was difficult watching the 120 minutes, wasn't it?
It was. The first 90 was a real slog. It was really tough to get through. I have to admit, after the end of the 90 minutes, I dozed off and I got up for Joe Bryan's second goal. I'm like, oh, Fulham are up 2-0. But yeah, Joe Bryan, the unlikely hero. I mean, the first goal, he really caught David Raya out from 35 yards. I mean, but overall, I thought he dealt brilliantly with Mboma throughout the game. He's the first player actually to score more than one goal in a final since Scott Sinclair against Swansea in 2011. So Scott Parker, I know a lot of us have talked about Brentford, and we've talked about the way that they've gone about things, the money ball and all that, and the attacking football that they play. But I really feel a football club is defined by your leadership, and your leadership is Thomas Frank. For me, Thomas Frank as a manager, in the last couple of months, if you watch the championship, literally everyone has despised what he has done. The way he's gone about saying things, the way he's gone about trashing other teams. There's a strong line being confident and being cocky. And Thomas Frank has gone towards being very cocky in the last couple of months. And at the end of the day, Scott Parker, professional, did the right thing, back in the Premier League after one season.
Yeah, Craig Wilkie. I mean, last season, Scott Parker couldn't save Fulham from the drop. For me, he's a bit like you. Really neat hairstyle. He is the neatest manager in football, Scott Parker.
I aim to be the Scott Parker of football punditry, absolutely. at least when it comes to hairdos. Well, I think he deserves a huge amount of credit, as Arvind was saying. I mean, I don't think he bears too much responsibility for the fact that Fulham got relegated last year. By the time that he took over, they were already in deep trouble. There wasn't really very much that he could do to save them at that point. And his focus even back then was on preparing for the next season and trying to bounce back straight away. And we know, as we've talked about before, that bouncing back straight away is no easy thing in the Championship. Even with all the advantages that you have of parachute money and the like, it's such a tough and such a competitive league that to go back up at the first attempt, albeit they've got a very strong squad, they've got some good players, Mitrovic and so on. But I think the way he's handled himself, again, perhaps in contrast to some others, as Aaron was pointing out before, he's just really gone about his business in a very professional way. And it struck me, actually, the interview he gave after the game, he was very generous to his players, to his backroom staff. You really saw the humanity of the man as well. He was looking forward to just that little bit of a break, spending some time with his family. I think it's a reminder to us all, actually, that the pressure that these guys work under, trying to take a club the size of Fulham back up to the Premier League. He said, as soon as you finish a game on a Saturday, you're just thinking about Monday morning and what's going to come next. So it's a fantastic result for him, and I wish him all the best next season in the Premier League. I think Fulham might do all right.
Kish, for Thomas Frank and Brentford, it is the 9th time now that Brentford have failed in a playoff. It's actually an English Football League record. It's their 4th playoff final defeat. I know they keep bouncing back, but it must play on your minds. It's difficult to take, isn't it?
Yeah, it definitely will be very difficult to digest. I know there's this whole, Arvind isn't exclusive in that sort of hatred towards Thomas Frank, because you see it all over the internet as well, with his statements, with his the kind of stuff that he talks about Fulham, about his rivals, especially towards the end of the season. But the thing is that ultimately, on a personal level, I'm a big fan of what Brentford have done with the whole Moneyball approach. I think it's the way to go. It's just that when it comes to a championship season, and this is why they always go back and say how difficult competing in the championship is, and how it's not just you can't just 100% depend on data. You can't just 100% depend on modern methods like your Moneyball. It also boils down to just sometimes just getting things across the line. And the thing about Brentford is, like you pointed, Ross, they've come so close multiple times, especially under this new leadership that they sort of have at the club at the moment with the Moneyball concept. They've come close in a couple of seasons now, and it's always about when it reaches the last stage. Even this season, right? You look in the last 2 games, all they needed was just 4 points.
4 points against
dropped.
2 bottom
4
sides.
points. That's all they needed, and they would have gained automatic promotion, but it didn't happen. And the question mark always becomes when things like this happen. There will always be internal discussions as to whether what they're doing is right or wrong. I just hope they continue to do what they're doing in terms of their approach from signing players and building a squad. Because ultimately, Brentford aren't a huge club. No. They really aren't compared to some of the other names in the Championship, compared to some of the names that have gotten promotion into the Premier League from the Championship this season. So they aren't a big club. But to be where they are with the resources that they have, you look at the front three, you look at the kind of the numbers that they've pulled this season in terms of goals, it's incredibly impressive. So if they continue doing what they've been doing in the boardroom level and in terms of like scouting, in terms of building a squad, and maybe just maybe if they reshuffle the managerial position and just shift things up a little bit, I think there's a very strong chance Brentford can get promoted anytime soon. Because the positive part about this Brentford side is because they use the Moneyball system, even if they lose members of that front three,
which they will do.
Be that confidence, which they will do. Yeah. There will always be that confidence that we can replace them. Yeah. Because we've got the right structure at the club. So I'm looking forward to see them next season, actually.
Ollie Watkins. Sorry, Arvind.
Ollie Watkins' 18 million buyout clause has been activated the moment that they haven't got promotion. The likes of Villa, Palace, Leeds, they're all looking at him.
Absolutely.
Ben Rama, we've heard Spurs and Chelsea keep an eye on him. They've already lost Kamo Mokto on a free transfer. Rico Henry will go at left back. I think they've just signed Ryan Manning from QPR last night. So I agree with Keish that the way that they've gone about their recruitment, the way that they've played football is the right way. I just feel the mentality of that squad, when you have bulldozed everyone after the restart, but you reach that final 2 games, they don't have that experience that the other big names have had. And my biggest grip on this is the last thing you need. Scott Parker is a model professional. The last thing you need is a manager to come out and say the things that he has. I feel he has a lot to take a blame for this, but I think they'll keep with him for another season, and we'll see how next season goes.
All right. Well, their exile from the top division stretches into 74 years, and they move into their brand new 17,500 capacity stadium next season. Scott Parker and Fulham, well, their victory apparently is worth at least £135 million over the next 3 seasons. So well done, Scott Parker. Well done, Fulham. Let us move on then and talk about European football that's happened this week. So much to discuss. Europa League action. Folks, the second legs of the last 16s that were played took place. Now, Man United, well, it's difficult not to take your foot off the pedal when you're 5-0 up from the first leg. But they hosted Linz of Austria. They had to come from behind to win 2-1. The game was as expected, Craig Wilkie. It was never going to be a spectacle, was it?
It was unlikely, I think, to be fair. But a lot of positives still, as far as I'm concerned, to take out of it for Manchester United. Solskjaer did exactly as we expected. He gave a chance to some of the youngsters. He gave some of the fringe players in the squad an opportunity to get a run out, because it's going to be a fairly intensive end to the season if they go all the way in the Europa League, which they've absolutely got a chance of doing right now, I would say. And I think, for me, the most encouraging thing, if you're a Manchester United fan, as I know you are, Ross, is when Solskjaer came out and spoke after the game and he said that Martial was sat on the bench and he was just itching to get on.
Yeah.
He wanted to go on, he wanted to play, he wanted to score goals. And of course, he did that in the end. He came up with a winner. It was a beautifully worked move.
He was on the field for 4 minutes, which is amazing.
Yeah, exactly. But
fired up,
to me, it just says something about the whole atmosphere around the club right now, that everybody's very united, if you pardon the pun. Everybody, wants to be on that park. They want to play for the manager. There's a lot of optimism about the place. You look at the likes of Pogba, who I feel as though has maybe been a bit of a destabilizing influence in the dressing room at times. But it looks as though he's kind of knuckled down a little bit since he came back the last time. Fernandes, obviously, as we know, has made a huge difference. But there's a lot of optimism around Old Trafford right now. And it wouldn't surprise me at all if they carry that confidence all the way in this tournament.
Well, it was tough on the Austrians. They were much the better side in the first half. Philipp Weisinger's goal was superb. Romero couldn't do anything about it. It literally was postage stamp top corner. But Keish, this was a game of the forgotten guys, if you like. A pair of assists from Juan Mata and Jesse Lingard. Hello, Lings, 2 in 2.
I mean, I know Jesse Lingard has turned into a bit of an internet meme with his antics, his celebration, his clothing brand, and all that kind of stuff. But ultimately, if we really were to dive deep into the sort of problems that he's had with his family, with his personal life over the last 12 months, you can't help but just feel good to see the guy smiling again. It ultimately is his character. It really just is the way he is on and off the pitch. And to see him in that state, because we have seen him over the last few months come on as a substitute, not exactly looking himself on the pitch, the way he smiles, the way he behaves. But over the last 2 games, it's just good to see him back smiling again. We're not sure whether he's going to stay or whether he's going to go. There's a lot of rumors that the man himself wants to leave in search of more consistent opportunities to play. He's got an agent that's capable of pulling deals with reasonable paychecks. So there's a lot of rumors about that. But it was just generally good to see him on the score sheet as well. Juan Mata, again, a complete model professional who has unfortunately spent a vast majority of his career at a stage where United were no longer competent. He would have been an excellent player under the Sir Alex era. He's a model professional as well. But like you said, Ross, when you've got a 5-0 lead, I don't think United fans were expecting a complete trashing. When the starting 11 was announced.
You can tell people, don't take your foot off the accelerator. Well, of course we won't, boss. Of course we won't. Yeah, but you're going 5-0 up, right? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. It was just about getting the stuff across the line. It was just about getting minutes for the likes of Odion Igalo even.
So young Mengi take to the field as well, didn't we?
Exactly, yeah. He must have been delighted to have made his debut. Eric Bailly looked good as well.
Yeah.
At the heart of that defense, So it was a job done in terms of getting the win, but more importantly, job done in terms of giving these guys important, vital minutes on the pitch.
Apparently, Man United have used 38 players so far in the Europa League. That is the most from any team. They have also scored 23 goals. That's at least 4 more than any other side in the Europa League this season. Sticking with United and talking about Inter Milan, Inter versus Getafe was a one-off game because they hadn't even played the first leg of the last 16. Romelu Lukaku and Christian Eriksen scored the goals to beat Getafe. I actually saw this match. I thought Getafe were very disappointing. Inter were very professional. You can tell they're an Antonio Conte team, can't you, Arvind? The way they literally play with his character.
They do. I mean, a lot of talk before the game was about Conte and what he had come out and said after finishing second in Serie A. I mean, his comparisons with Juve, how the structure of Juve works more. Inter have got a long way to go. But yeah, you're right. It was a very Conte characteristic type performance for Inter on the pitch. I thought Getafe's high press made quite uncomfortable for Inter. And Getafe have done that the whole season in La Liga. They're a high pressing team. It took a while for Inter to get through. The one interesting bit is that Getafe go around and kick people on the pitch. They do. and referee Anthony Taylor from England has been lambasted in the Italian media because he gave 1 yellow card the entire game. He gave 1 yellow card at the 90th minute. So the referee didn't cover himself in glory. But yeah, Inter have made it through. Getafe were quite unfortunate because Jorge Molina actually missed a penalty. I mean, if he scored that, it would have made things a little bit more interesting. Yeah, but Inter were always going to get through this. And it would bode well for Conte to win something with Inter, because his demeanor and the way that he's gone about things with Inter is very similar to what he has done previously with Juventus, with Chelsea. He's a manager that after a while seems to get very frustrated with the board, with the management. He's always asking for more money. He's got Alexis Sanchez now as the deal has gone through. So it would bode well for Conte, especially in Inter, who haven't won something since Jose Mourinho won the treble, for them to get this Europa League. It would be good for them at the end of the season, I would say.
Yeah, they actually can meet Man United in the final. And Alexis Sanchez is now an Inter player, so he's eligible. And I hope he's taking his grand piano with him. So Inter progress, as do Wolverhampton Wanderers, who started their Europa League campaign in July of last year, which is amazing. I think it's their 59th game they played. First class, amazing. They won 1-0 on the night, thanks to a VAR cancelling out an Olympiacos goal. It was literally an armpit hair offside. Again, that's a different subject altogether. But credit to Wolves, credit to Nuno Espirito Santo. They're good to watch, Craig Wilkie, aren't they?
They are. They have been good to watch all season long. Actually, I thought they were maybe a tiny bit fortunate the other night. Olympiacos, despite having the setback of going a goal down so early on, for me, they recovered really well and put Wolves under a lot of pressure. And by the end, Wolves definitely seem to be hanging on a little bit. But as you say, I mean, it feels like it's been a long week for us with all the late nights, but what a long season it's been for them. And I think the really impressive thing is actually the consistency of performance that they've put in over that entire time. You look at how they've played all the way through those early stages of the Europa League, from the start of the Premier League season, even when they came back after the break for the restart of the league. It didn't really disrupt their momentum too much. And they've carried that on now into the Europa League. Terrific achievement, really, for Wolves, I think, to have made it this far. And again, we've said it before, who knows how far they could go, having got to this point. Still got some very good players in that squad. Let's put it this way, nobody will fancy facing Wolves in the next round. I think we can put it like that.
Can I just point out, Ross, Connor Cody,
yeah,
there was a pass that he made in that game that just went through like 10 players. When you think of English centre-backs, you think of guys who dive into two-footed challenges and break legs and, they're aggressive at the back. But this guy isn't just that. He's bought into the Nuno Espirito Santo style of play. He's adapted to playing it out from the back. And to me, Ross, like Connor Cody is probably one of the best English central defenders now. What baffles me is he's not made his England debut at all. And he's up there at the moment. He would walk into any top 6 sides. I know we had the same discussion last week when we were looking at the list of central defenders for the team of the season. But to me, Connor Cody has been impressive. And last night, and for Wolves last night as well, he was absolutely brilliant. Inspirational at the heart of that 3-man defense. And you can see how much it meant to him as well for Wolves to go into the quarterfinals of a European tournament for the first time. And after the game, he spent so much time sitting on the pitch of the stadium, just soaking it all in. And this guy, man, like Connor Cody has just been probably one of the standout players from this Wolves season. Everyone looks at their front four, everyone looks at Adama Traore, but you've got to look at Connor Cody and you've got to give him plaudits. He needs to make his England debut at some point. He's been great.
Yeah, unsung hero. Wolves are likely to be without Johnny and Daniel Podence, who got a silly yellow card because he took his time whilst being substituted. So that's the stupidness of youth for you, if you like. But Wolves will play Sevilla. So your quarterfinals then, or what is it called? The last 8 playoff tie, I don't know, whatever. It looks like this. Man United will play Copenhagen on Monday night, so that's Tuesday morning, 3 a.m. kickoff. Inter Milan will take on Bayer Leverkusen. Leverkusen beat Rangers 1-0 on the night. All the eyes were on Kai Havertz, who had a hat full of chances to score. You can tell when a big transfer is on a player's mind, right? I mean, Havertz would have put them all the way, but he missed a hatful. Anyway, Inter versus Bayer Leverkusen. That's a tasty-looking tie, Craig Wilkie.
Yeah, there's a few tasty-looking ties now at this point. Going back to the Rangers game, I think Rangers were actually quite disappointing on the night. I know they had a long way to go to come back for that, but Gerrard I think he'll be looking at that and feeling as though he could and should have got more out of his players. They went down with a little bit of a whimper for me. Although, to be fair, we have to remember that Rangers have only had one competitive game back since the restart. They've already started their new season while they're still completing this season. And I think actually in general that might be a bit of a factor as we conclude these European tournaments. Just what stage teams are at in their season. Some of them, PSG for example, haven't played, right? When we look at the Champions League scenario. So, and then the Bundesliga finished a little bit further back. So those teams have to kind of pick it back up again. So all of those things will come into play in what will be a very interesting week next week.
All right. Well, one of the dark horse teams, I reckon, is Shakhtar Donetsk. They were easy 3-0 winners over Wolfsburg. I think it's a 5-1 aggregate score. You look at their side, where they were in full flow against Wolfsburg, Arvind. It's like watching Brazil wearing orange.
Yeah, and I mean, we've always, Shakhtar as a team traditionally has always had a lot of Brazilians that they've managed to bring into over the years. Junior Moraes for them right now is a great player, but Wolfsburg have been poor. They've been poor in the Bundesliga, and there was only one way this was going to go. This was one of those ties that sometimes in the Europa League, you kind of sense that potentially an upset could happen somewhere. This was pretty much straightforward. So Shakhtar, with their Brazilian identity, it's not something new. They've had this for a couple of years where they've managed to get a lot of Brazilians which are not at the tier 1 or even the tier 2. They're Brazilians which potentially some of the bigger European clubs don't take a chance with them, but somehow Shakhtar is able to mold them and really make them play out of their skin. So this was a game for me that was a no-brainer in terms of Shakhtar getting through.
Well, Shakhtar will take on Basel of Switzerland. Basel beat Eintracht Frankfurt 1-0, 4-0 aggregate win. And the other semi-final, or rather quarter-final tie, is Wolves against Sevilla, which should be very tasty, Keish, this one.
Yeah, definitely. And for some reason, you look at these two teams, right, purely from the point of view of reputation, and you think that, Sevilla, obvious favorites going into this one. But if you've watched Wolves, and they might not be the biggest team in terms of their name and reputation, but you look at this fixture and you just think of the players that they have and the fact that Raul Jimenez has been superb up front, and they must be I think at least that they are favorites heading into this tie. There was a really cool picture of the Wolves medical staff or one of the coaching staff applying baby oil on Adama Traore's hands last night, just so that defenders can't grab onto him. It's just absolutely brilliant, really. And I can't wait to watch. I mean, Wolves are a team that I don't think anyone, if you're a football fan, I don't think anyone will not want to watch Wolves. And I'll be delighted to see Wolves doing well in the Europa League this year. I think at least that they are favourites heading into the tie against Sevilla.
Brilliant stuff. So here then are your Europa League quarter-finalists. The matches take place Monday, Tuesday, or that's Tuesday, Wednesday morning, our time. And on we go to preview the Champions League. Arvin, Craig, Keish, and myself, Ross, here, taking a look at Man City against Real Madrid. That's tonight, early tomorrow morning. Perfect for right after your Ramly burger. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. 3 a.m. kickoff, this one. City lead 2-1. It was Gabriel Jesus and Kevin De Bruyne. After Isco had put Real Madrid 1 up. And I'm going to come to you, Arvind, because you're a Real Madrid fan. I want to, first of all, talk about the fact that Bale is not going to take part in this. Zidane made it really public that Gareth Bale didn't want to be involved against Man City, which is... Man, there's still something simmering there. It's going to go on into next season. It's not good for the club, is it?
It's not. And really, when I look at this scenario, there are two players in the same boat right now. One, you've got James Rodriguez. One, you've got Gareth Bale. Both these players, for many times this season, has not been at games. They've not been called up. There are a lot of times that they have come out and personally said they do not want to be selected. I get why Bale has come out and said he doesn't want to be selected for this game because he knows he's not going to play. It's quite simple.
He just doesn't want to be on the bench.
Yeah, he will not play. But on the flip side of it, if you look at the stats, Zidane has given Gareth Bale more than ample amount of opportunities to come in and prove himself. And he hasn't done it. Post-Ronaldo era, Bale has not grabbed the mantle that a lot of Madrid fans thought that he would. So it's not great for the club. For James Rodriguez, I feel that there is a conclusion to it because he's on his way to Atletico Madrid from what we're hearing and what we're reading. For Gareth Bale, the challenge is the wages. Who is going to take him on that amount of money? He seems to love sunny Spain. He seems to love sitting on the bench. He seems to love playing golf. Now, football seems to be the least of priorities for Gareth Bale right now, which is a bit of a concern. But I also, when you look at it, I can get why Bale is doing this because you've paid me this amount of money. You either pay me out or I'm going to sit on my bench. But really, does Gareth Bale look back in his career and think, is this the best choice that he has made? Well, so it's not ideal, but Zidane and co have managed to get through it by winning La Liga, and now they've got this challenge.
Well, it's not a good look for a professional footballer, that's for sure. But as far as the game's concerned, Man City hold the upper hand here, Craig Wilkie. They should win. You can almost, I mean, they've had the last few weeks of the Premier League off, right? Once Liverpool confirmed the title, they've been on UCL mode since then.
Yeah, well, it's such an intriguing tie for me. I was going to say, it feels like such a long time since the first leg. That's because it is such a long time since the first leg. Right? It's you can't really base on form since then. And actually, I think back then City got Real at quite a good time. They were having a bit of a rough patch in the league, and they've definitely finished the season much stronger than they were when the sides met before. City, on the other hand, as we know, have been a little bit up and down over the course of the whole season. And if we look back at the whole Pep era, when it comes to European football, you would have to say that they've underachieved on the basis of the money that's been spent, the level of expectation that came with his arrival. I mean, there was no question that he was brought in not only to win the Premier League, but to really establish City as a power when it comes to European football. And they've lost too many games they've lost games that they should have won. And whether this falls into that category or not remains to be seen. I think it looks as though Aguero's not going to be able to play, and that's a big blow. But this is, that squad has been expensively assembled for exactly nights like this. So this is when those City players really have to earn their money. And I think with the advantage that they have, taking it back to England, they should just about hold out. But this game could go either way. I think it'll be a good game as well. I think we'll see goals. I think it could be a really entertaining tie.
Yeah, it's you should not miss this one. Who's going to play up front for City? Bernardo Silva was the false nine in Madrid. They had Gabriel Jesus on the left. They've got a whole bunch of different permutations. It's going to be a great game, that one. Man City currently lead Real Madrid 2-1. It's a Saturday 3 a.m. kickoff. Also playing Saturday 3 a.m. is Juve against Lyon. Keish, Juve have to overturn a 1-0 first leg deficit. Lucas Toussaint guided in Aouar's cross in the first leg. I mean, I know Juve tied up Serie A, and but this is a weakened Juve side. The stats came out, I think, yesterday, right? Although they won Serie A, they've lost more games. They've accrued the least points, conceded the most goals of any champion so far. Do you think Sarri, well, he's been brought in to win this by Juve. Can they do it? Are they in with a shout?
I mean, whether or not they win the Champions League, there's still a bit of a gap there, right? Like there's still the next round and then the round after that. But if you're talking specifically about this tie, now the problem is, if this tie happened 4 months ago, you look at Lyon and say, hey, they're good value for potentially causing an upset in Turin. But the reality now is that Juve are the fitter side. they have played more games than Lyon, and that counts for something, especially at this level. You look at the first couple of games when all the leagues resumed. You look at the first couple of games in the Bundesliga, the first couple of games in the Premier League. You could see that gap in quality, in fitness levels, and no matter how much you train outside, no matter how much of effort you put into the training pitch and prolonged training sessions, mini preseason campaigns, it will not compete against high intense match experience, match fitness. And that's exactly what UA have got with the Serie A, continuing over the last month or so. The problem is Lyon don't have that level of match fitness yet, and I think that will come back to really, really bite them in Turin. I look at this tie and I feel really frustrated because I would love to see an upset, right? We all love that underdog story, but I find it very, very difficult to see it happening in this particular tie simply because Juventus just have more superior fitness levels at this point, and it will count for something at this level.
Well, the only game of note that Lyon have had was last weekend's League Cup, which they drew in 90 minutes with PSG, but lost on penalties. But if they can match Juve for fitness, they're in with a shout, Arvind, because in players like Hossam Aouar, Bruno Guimaraes, even Memphis Depay, who's their captain, who's their leading light, they can hurt teams.
Moussa Dembele, 16 goals in a shortened League One. Moussa Dembele. Yeah. If Lyon get 1, Juve got to get 3. It's quite simple. So the pressure is very much on Juve to get through this. Sarri has come out, and I read today morning that he's come out and said that he doesn't think his future is dependent on this game. I think he's in trouble. I honestly think it hasn't been smooth sailing for Juve and Sarri throughout the entire season. But if they get knocked out at this stage of the competition, of a tournament that Juve have longed for since 1996, that was the last time they won the Champions League. If they don't get through tonight, I think Sarri could go. So the pressure is all on Juve on this one. Take no bones about it. All it needs is Lyon to get that 1 goal. But then again, when you look at it on the other side of it, these are nights where it's made for a certain Cristiano Ronaldo.
Absolutely.
He loves that record.
That's why they signed him, right? Yeah.
That's why they rested him for 2 games at the end of Serie A. I won't be surprised he comes in, scores a hat-trick, even if Lyon gets 1. So it's nights like this which is made for Cristiano Ronaldo.
I was reading multiple reviews of this game, and one of them said, well, when you've got 35-year-old Cristiano Ronaldo as a life insurance policy, then you're all right. But yeah, I don't know. I fancy an upset in this one. Juve against Lyon is also a 3 a.m. kickoff Saturday morning. Barcelona and Napoli are nicely poised, Craig Wilkie. It's 1-1 after the first leg. Dries Mertens, if you can remember back to 18th of March, scored his 121st goal for Napoli.
I remember it well.
Exactly. No, he equaled Marek Hamšík's all-time leading goal-scoring record there for Napoli, which is amazing because he plays in midfield, Dries Mertens. But yeah, Barcelona are not the Barcelona from before, but just like Juve, when you've got a certain Leo Messi in your ranks, you might be all right on the night.
You just might, and is the best man you could possibly have in your ranks for such a scenario. But as you said, when was the last time we saw what we might term as the real Barcelona? I mean, this whole season has been, I would say, underwhelming from their point of view. Messi has strived to live up to his usual high standards, but those around him haven't necessarily played their part to the full. And actually what I do remember from the first leg is that on the night, Napoli were the better side. Barcelona will have been pretty happy to come away with a point and with 1-1 in that first fixture. Obviously gives them a slight advantage going into the second leg, but very difficult to read the form of both sides going into it. So, well, it looks, I would say City versus Real Madrid is the glamour tie of the round. This, to me, is probably the most intriguing one. It really could go either way. And I think there's a lot more pressure on Barcelona than there is on Napoli. We're just talking about that in relation to Juventus. And that can also be a factor when it comes to these one-off occasions as well. Those players will really be feeling it as though they need to salvage something from what's been a bit of a disappointing season. Napoli, on the other hand, will probably be able to play with a little bit more freedom. And that could just be enough to tip the balance, actually.
Barca will be missing Sergio Busquets and Arturo Vidal through suspension. Lorenzo Insigne is a doubt for Napoli. Now, that's massive if he doesn't make it. Apparently, he's struggling with a thigh problem. Gennaro Gattuso, Keish, is the man in charge of Napoli these days. He's going to potentially be without star defenders Kostas Manolas and Maksimovic, which, again, is massive. If Napoli don't have them at the back, then you're really going to fancy Messi to walk his way through.
Yeah, I don't think Barcelona fans quite like the name Manolas after what he did for Roma against them in the Champions League as well. So they'll be glad to see if he misses this particular game. But I mean, I've always liked Gennaro Gattuso as a player. And as a manager, obviously, he struggled a little bit with Milan. Things weren't exactly going his way. But by the looks of it, right, he's walked into a passionate city like Naples. He has bought into the city. He has lifted the clubs on his shoulders, and he's integrated himself into the folklore of the club as well. There were rumors that for Napoli they made a recent signing. They signed someone from Lille. I can't exactly recall his name exactly at this moment, but they signed the striker from the French league from Lille. And the word on the street is that Gattuso took a pay cut or used a portion of his wages to help sanction that move as well.
Wow.
So that they could afford his wages. And that's the kind of things that, people in Naples would absolutely love. It's a working class city, and everyone in the squad is aware of sentiments like that. They're aware of values like that. So, gestures like that, further strengthens team belief and team spirit. And that's what you need in games like this. When you're going into the Camp Nou, you're going into one of the most intimidating venues with or without fans. You need that kind of team chemistry, that kind of team spirit, and that's why I think this one, it could really go either way. I look at that Juve-Lyon tie, and I think that Juve might be favorites, but I look at this one, and even though Barcelona are playing at home, I really don't think they will even refer to themselves as favorites going into this one. Without Sergio Busquets, without Arturo Vidal in midfield, without that screening midfielder at the heart of their midfield. Arthur has reportedly said that he doesn't want to play a part in the Champions League campaign as well. So, there's a lot of question marks over that Barcelona midfield. And I won't be surprised if Napoli exploit that and get an upset over Barcelona.
Yeah, Gennaro Gattuso, an Italian heartman brought up in Scotland. Spent a lot of time there, and he's got a Scottish wife as well, so it's like a double win.
I think he's got a Scottish accent now as well.
So yeah, that's Saturday night, Sunday morning, 3 a.m. kickoff. Nicely poised. Like Keish, I kind of fancy the Sky Blues this one. Barcelona won, Napoli won, Sunday 3 a.m. kickoff. Bayern Munich are leading Chelsea by 3-0. Arvind. It's going to take a lot for the Blues to turn this around. First of all, they have the leakiest defense since football restarted in England. Let's talk about Bayern first. Hansi Flick has basically rejuvenated a side that was supposedly regressing. He's got 230-something strikers, Thomas Muller and Lewandowski, just banging them in. 34 goals, 21 assists for Muller. Bayern, despite 3-0 up, you can see them scoring 3 more, can't you?
Of course you can. There was a stat that Hansi Flick's team score on average 3.5 goals. He's got better goal scoring record than Pep, better than Jupp Heynckes. He has turned this completely around, and I think it was a master stroke of an appointment. They never needed to go for someone of a bigger name. They needed someone to come in and massage the egos of all these superstars at Bayern. But yeah, this is a no-brainer. Again, Chelsea's season ended when they lost the FA Cup. The season ended there. I've heard that, and I always like reading up about youngsters who's coming up to the academy. I would read that one report that Chelsea have got 3 youngsters, 3 academy products that they're bringing in, and I've never heard of these guys. Lewis Bate, Daniel Simiu, Ian Matheson. These are guys that Lampard wants to give a debut against Bayern. So it kind of shows that they kind of realize that they're not going to get anywhere with this. Bayern are going to get through. And it's just one bit about Lampard. I mean, we've all talked about how he's refreshed Chelsea, how he's done things right. But if you actually compare Lampard's record this season against Sarri's record last season, Sarri has done better. Sarri finished higher. Sarri didn't concede as many goals as Lampard. Lampard has conceded the same amount of goals as Brighton. Sarri won a title in the Europa League. So in a sense that we shouldn't get too carried away with this whole Lampard revolution. Yes, it's refreshing, but he's gone out and he seems to be wanting to spend money on strikers and attacking midfielders at the back, like what you say, massive issues. And the priority doesn't seem to be there for him to solve it out. So hopefully he learns from that for next season.
Yeah, well, they're going to be without Cesar Azpilicueta, Christian Pulisic, N'Golo Kante probably won't be risked. He's missed 7 games already. But yeah, I mean, Keish, Lampard's in danger here of undoing good work done for this season. Because remember, transfer ban, embedding a lot of youth in the side, and he's done well, got to an FA Cup final, and now if they're going to get tonked by Bayern, it's going to undo a lot of good work this season.
Yeah, no, to me, it really, really, really just doesn't make sense for them to play and try and test new players. Now, you will absolutely rile up your own fan base if you do that. It's not about the 3-0 deficit. We've seen scorelines like that, get overturned in the Champions League. And as far as Chelsea fans are concerned, I'm pretty sure they would want to see is just the team put up a fight against a Bayern. And it doesn't matter if they win or lose, but ultimately it's about putting up a fight and continuing that momentum that they've built throughout the season. Because if you go in here and putting youngsters and then you get completely smashed 5 or 6-0, it does no good for the youngsters as well and their own development and their own self-confidence. It doesn't make any sense to me. I know Lampard is a bit frustrated with the fact that there is very minimal gap between the European campaign and their new season. And to some extent, I wouldn't even be surprised if Lampard, it's a sigh of relief for him if Chelsea do get knocked out.
Well, exactly. I don't know what he's moaning about because he's going to have a full month after the weekend, right?
Yeah, he's almost on holiday. It's all right.
Yeah, exactly. If they do get knocked out, I don't think they will be, slapping themselves or whatever. In some ways, they'll actually be quite pleased so that they can prep for the new season with the new signings, integrate them into the squad, and then look on to make a bigger impact in the Champions League next year. Remember, they've got that sorted out already. But do not play the youngsters. It just doesn't bode well for him, for the team, for the youngsters themselves.
Yeah.
If they play a weakened squad against Bayern Munich, it just doesn't work that way.
You don't hear Nuno Espirito Santo complaining about the next season's coming too early for Wolves players, do you? I mean, geez. And we're going to start with you, Arvind. Which game are you going to go for, and what do you think the scoreline will be?
Well, obviously my eyes will be on the Madrid-Man City game, but while at the same time, you've got Juve and Lyon, for me, it's going to finish 1-1. It's going to finish 1-1 in Turin, and I honestly feel that Lyon is going to knock Juve out this season because I feel the pressures on Sarri. It hasn't been smooth sailing. He hasn't managed some of those personalities really well. So for me, my big shout is Juve to get knocked out tomorrow morning.
And for you, will Real beat City?
Sadly, no. I feel it'll be a 1-1 draw as well. I think it'll be a night of draws. But Real's focus was La Liga anyway. They wanted to win La Liga after falling behind Barcelona for a couple of years. Champions League, they've got what they've needed for the last couple of years.
And if you can't call on Bale off the bench, then you're nothing really, are you?
Exactly. So it's going to be, I feel, a night of draws, City and Lyon to get through.
Wicked. All right, Craig Wilkie, what's your big shout, sir?
Well, having just spoken so positively about Zidane and Madrid, I think I better take them to overturn that deficit and get through. What I'm really looking forward to in that game actually is the midfield battle between Modric and De Bruyne for supremacy in there. I think you've got 2 absolutely superb playmakers who make the respective sides tick. So whoever wins that battle might be the determining factor in this tie. With a little bit of Croatian loyalty, I think I have to go for Modric. And so therefore, Madrid for me for this one.
Ooh, I don't know what that's left you with, Keish, but what do you say for a big shout this week?
Come on, guys. You've left me with the biggest game of the week, which is Barcelona-Napoli. Kostas Manolas apparently came out in the press and he said that he had a chat with Francesco Totti a few days ago, and Totti was saying that, you remember what we did against them? You can do it again. and if Manolas does pass the fitness test, and God forbid, please, I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I just want him to pass that fitness test. I'm going to go for Manolas to score at the Camp Nou and cause a second heartbreak against Barcelona, Napoli to go through.
Will Kiki Setien be Barcelona coach next season, guys?
No, regardless, no.
Right, yeah, exactly. I don't know how you can go into a European Cup with that hanging over your head. But there you go. A lot of football to watch over the weekend. We're done. Many thanks to the guys. Thanks, Craig Wilkie.
Thank you very much.
Thanks to Arvind.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great weekend.
And Keish. Brilliant stuff.
Cheers, Ross. Come on, Napoli.
Yeah, enjoy the football. We'll be back on Monday on the radio and back here on video next Friday. Bye now.